Hello friends, it's Scarlett here, and I would love to invite y'all back to another vlog of me vending at an art market. This time I think it went a lot better than the last show I was at, so I'm excited to take you guys along with me. I vlogged most of this. I got more footage than I typically do. I think I'm getting better at that. However, there's no formal intro as you are noticing now. So here is my introduction to this video. I do some prep work for this market, I attend the market, and I take you guys with me, and then there's a reflection on how I think the market went. That's what this video is going to be. If it sounds interesting to you, please stick around and join me. The project I'm working on here is a very small granny square. I'm making a set of granny squares to hang from one another for my micro crochet earrings. These are really nice to travel with and work on the go. I'm constantly trying to upgrade my setup and make it more aesthetically pleasing. In fact, that is a very big priority for me right now. So I thrifted this lace tablecloth, and I have these other tablecloths that I use which were also thrifted, and I decided the best use of my very limited time was to dye them. And while I was at it, since I was already going through the trouble, I dyed a bunch of my clothes too. I should have been using bigger tubs and not buckets, but I used what I had. I streamed on Twitch as well as I was working on this stuff. I've been on a 75 soft journey, and part of that journey has required me to stream on Twitch at least 3 times a week. I think it's going well, and it was nice to stream and chat as I was getting ready for this market. I cut out all my patch pieces. I should have used a rotary cutter, but I need to get new blades for my rotary cutter, and I'm not messing around with dull blades. I've gotten stitches once because I misused a rotary cutter. Not happening again. Also, some of the patches are made from pieces that I ended up re-dyeing and tie-dyeing, like this bandana that I used, which I think came out really cool. I made a ton of patches because, again, if I'm already getting all the stuff set up, I want to just do a ton of block printing in one go. Currently, block printing is the main way I make patches. I like carving the lino, but my hands have been really going through it recently. I was thinking of getting back into doing some screen printing and experimenting with some screen print patches in the future. I even thrifted some canvases that I want to turn into upcycled screen printing frames, so I'm excited to try that out. Screen printing can also be demanding on the wrist in the actual act of printing and pulling the ink. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's fun to try out a new way of doing a craft and seeing if it's just a little bit easier on my hands. Also, I miss screen printing. I did quite a bit of it when I was in school. I low-key could have done a printing minor when I was in school because almost all the electives I was taking for the first 2 years had to do with printmaking because I liked it a lot. This was my 3rd time returning to Vend at an event hosted by the Mythmakers Society, and I really liked it. We were at a new venue. The last place we vended at was this really cute castle, but it wasn't very accessible. This new venue was much more accessible. Not completely perfect, but definitely an upgrade. And I had less space. So I was focusing on smaller items like the patches and the earrings because they would be easier to have more inventory in a smaller space than before when I could spread out and bring a ton of clothing racks and multiple tables. I thought I would be more prepared going into the next market, but it is 4 a.m. the night before, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep. I'm freaking out. I've been working so hard trying to prep for this market that is tomorrow. It is the wee hours of the night. I'm trying to figure out when I can get to sleep, but I have to finish some earrings so that I have enough inventory. There's so many things that I wanted to get done for this that I just have not been able to, and it's not for lack of trying, which is really frustrating. I just don't have enough hours in the day, and a good amount of that is definitely because of the sleep issues and chronic fatigue I've been having. And I know you're gonna be like, hey, if you're staying up till 4 a.m., your sleep schedule's messed up, and that's why you are fatigued. No, even when I sleep like the normal amount, the recommended amount, and tweak it between like maybe 7 hours to even 10 hours, I could sleep for 16 hours straight, 20 hours straight, and I'd still be really tired, which is kind of why I take it a little more lightly to stay up all night doing stuff for this market, because I know either way it will feel as if I had stayed up all night. And I'm just so frustrated because my output as an artist has just been taking a nosedive. So we're gonna see how this goes tomorrow with my very limited inventory. Luckily, the fee to vend was not that expensive. We're gonna see. I kind of started doing my setup, but I'm not doing my full setup tonight because, again, I'm tired. I'm also especially sad because I only got half of the patches that I wanted to get done. I'm awake. I got like no sleep, which I knew was happening, but I did sleep in for like that tiny window where it's like, I'll get up and get back to work and make more earrings, because I didn't finish all of the earrings that I set out to make, but I finished up enough of them. I should have a good amount. I did also set aside supplies so I can make them there. I also have some supplies to work on keychains while I'm there, and then the mini mushrooms are something I do. I'm like low-key trying not to be too seething in how frustrated I am with the situation, but like I have been working on this pretty consistently, and I still don't have much to show for it in terms of like my inventory is not what it should be. The checklist of things that I want to do is not there, but I look back and I'm like, even in the moments that I'm not like working on this, I'm working on other stuff. Like I'm constantly working on things. And then the time that I'm not, I'm either battling this chronic fatigue situation and also like all of the caregiver stuff. We have 3 hours for setup. Setup opens at 9 and it goes until noon. Originally, shoppers were told 11 though, so there's a chance people will get there earlier. And I didn't get to do a full run through of my setup, but I have a decent idea of what I'm gonna do for it, so I'll just go for it. It's gonna be fine. But I have to go water my neighbor's plants before we leave because it's so hot outside, so I want to make sure those have water. Also pack some makeup and press on nails to do there because I am going to nap in the car, so I'm not gonna put that stuff on now. And of course I fed some kittens before I left. You always get food on your nose. My original outfit plan was a lot cuter. I have the accessories and stuff in my bag. I'm also not wearing those in the car. I have like one necklace on, but I'm about to sleep in the car, so I don't want to wear those. This is one of the shirts that I dyed. I really like this darker color, and I'll have a crochet belt. I wanted to be wearing this, but it clearly needs to be ironed on the pleats. This was going to be more of my fit. So bummer that that didn't work out, but that's okay. This is my breakfast. Getting set up at the market wasn't too bad. I was the first one in the room that I would be vending at, and this was before I realized it was going to be as warm as it ended up being. The AC in the room worked okay when nobody was in there, but it started to heat up throughout the day as the sun started coming through the windows and people kept coming in and out. So I set up my booth, I put these grids up like normal. As I keep going to more events, each time the setup switches slightly, sometimes due to what inventory I'm bringing with me, and other times I'm trying new stuff and building upon what I did before. You can really see here just how much you see through the grids, and I think that can be really distracting, especially with all of the stuff that is behind the grid. I'm thinking of setting up some maybe fabric backings. They do sell grids that are just plain plastic, but I wouldn't be able to hang up the stuff that I am using on it. But the thing is, I just don't want it to be as see-through. This is the best way I have to hang up my earrings currently. I do have earring displays where you just put the bits of the earring in, but I like them when they're already on the back. I think it's easier for people to pick up. This is my first time using this really cute coffin mirror. I'm very excited. It took me a second to figure out how to set it up. It came with some chains that were just way too long for this, and this felt way more secure. This was inside, so I wasn't worried about wind, which is my enemy number one whenever I am vending outdoors. However, when I vend outside with this, I will probably find a way to attach the bottom in a more stable way because the wind will go after this for sure. I like making sure that I have some sort of mirror at my booths because it's just nice so people can see earrings on them, and sometimes people want to take a cute selfie. I see that happen more so with my larger mirrors at events than these small ones, but I like having it. This is how my booth came out. Not too bad if I do say so myself. I really like the lace touch. I think it turned out really nice. Here's the mirror, like I said, and then there's my little tap to get my links. And here is the view again from sitting behind the table. So I'm just looking through the grids when I talk to people, which is interesting. My foot was bothering me significantly very early on into the show. And then, of course, I was stitching at my booth. I think it's nice to work on something so you're not just sitting there and staring when people come by the booth, and you can engage naturally, but also like go back to stitching or doing something if it's clear they're not up for talking and you don't have that pressure. I did have to brave taking my mask off indoors to eat this food that my sister brought me, but by this time I was overheating so much that I thought it was definitely worth it to get some extra energy to make it through the day. We're at this point of the day. It's time for the pack. When the day was winding down, the first thing I was doing, instead of taking my booth down early, which I didn't, was take my jewelry off because I was so sweaty and so gross and I needed to get that off of me as quickly as possible. Takedown went really smoothly. I also always rush through getting stuff into bins as fast as I can, but I did a good job of keeping stuff in designated bins. I sped through this. I even managed to consolidate one of the bins into another bin, which was kind of nice, but I was also like, how come I didn't figure that out on the way here? Because it wasn't any large inventory that got purchased. Most of the stuff I sold were smaller things, so I didn't shade much what I was packing, so I was a little confused. Anyway, I packed up fast.
But the one place they can't search is the river, which is...
The shower I just took was so refreshing. Oh my goodness. I also watched the newest episode of The Vampire Lestat. I watched most of it on the way back. So amazing. I didn't get a motion sickness induced migraine, so thankful. So now I'm caught up. So I'm gonna unpack and also just share my thoughts on how this went and the notes that I took for what I want to do next time. It's now Tuesday. I've been home for 2 days since the market. I was exhausted yesterday. Yesterday had to be a mandatory rest day. The heat really did a number on me. And I just wasn't as prepared as I would have been had I known it was gonna feel like a sauna in there. I would have brought like some cooling towels with me and maybe some ice packs. My sticker for migraines helped a bit, but I would have been a little bit more prepared. But again, I was told it was an indoor event. I was gonna be inside in a porch with AC was what it was labeled as. And yes, technically it had AC, but it heated up so much that it really didn't make much of a difference. I also need to invest in quality fans that will last throughout the day and not the cheap hand fans that I keep getting. Those are nice and they are helpful, and I would probably still pack them on top of the other fans. I feel like you can't have too many. Since I didn't bring any of my garments, I didn't have any clothing racks to set up or take down. I had these 3 bins. Brought the wagon in for setup. I brought my table. I brought a chair, but the venue literally made us use their chairs because they had nowhere else to store them. So they told all the vendors, like, use our chairs even if you brought your own chair. I was actually pretty worried I wouldn't have enough inventory, but it worked out. I still have my cowboy hat. I hope to make more of these so I can bring them to more markets and have like a couple different up, and then I can also illustrate that, hey, I take customs. Once again, signage was the big thing where I'm like, oh, I want it to look nice. For LavenderCon, I will have proper signage. It will all be typed up, you know, similar font, very legible, cohesive, and pretty. A stretch goal would also be to acquire a laminator so I can laminate these and be able to reuse them. The fun thing about markets is when I have so many like different types of wares and I keep bringing them to shows, sometimes I'll bring them to a lot of shows and it takes a while, and then it finds the right person and they purchase it, so you never know. At this show, my stitch markers did really well, my patches did really well, and the earrings that I stayed up the night before making with the finer thread did better than the earrings with the chunkier yarn, which is interesting because I get a lot more comments, I feel, when I'm wearing my big crochet earrings because it's easier to read as that, and the subtle ones, you know, people like, but when I'm out and about, it's only people that come up close to me that can tell. Yeah, so I'm just sorting this. I only had patches with the white print, but they did pretty well, so for LavenderCon I will get the patches with black ink as well. Made this little sign. I don't think people scanned it, but that is okay. At least I had it there. These, it's so flimsy. I hate how that works. I need thicker cardstock because it's hard to flip through and they get all bent up. I also don't love this box, but that's something that can be fixed eventually. This is what I use to display the cowboy hat. I like having nicer hat stands. That's what we had. I use this mirror I got from TikTok Shop. I loved having it, and the Lavender Con event is indoors. Let's hope it has real AC. And if I have electricity, I can turn the light on. I just connected it to my booth with zip ties, but it does have this. Something I would definitely try to do differently for my booth is make sure there's like a little opening that you see at like most artist alley booths, so you can see me and not be looking like through the grids, as it ended up being when I was talking to people, because I was sitting behind and I couldn't quite sit high enough above. This is a tray that I packed. I didn't end up using it. My big thing is I don't know how I'm gonna like display my patches nicer. I think having like shelves for like how people do stickers or prints and stuff. I also have all of these bins that I can use for different things that I keep with me. Of course, if I did a proper run through the night before, I wouldn't be packing the things that I ended up not using, or you know, even better than the night before, much earlier. I used my nip tip pasty to be like a tap to find me on the interwebs. Most people ended up grabbing a business card, but I was excited enough about this that it was like, hey, you can do this if you're interested. And I'm actually going thrifting tonight, and I have a list of some things that I will be looking for. I'm trying not to spend all the money I made, but I am at that point in my art market journey where most of the money I make will be going back and invested into the... That being said, a lot of the money I'm making is immediately going to foot surgery. I hate that that has to happen, but you know, to be able to be an artist and make stuff, it does help if I can stand up and walk around. Of course I can crochet sitting down, but it's hard to do like markets and stuff. It's hard to teach people in like a classroom setting if I'm running around on my feet. So I'd like to be able to walk. So that's where most of my money is going. I brought jewelry supplies and keychain supplies, and then I ended up just crocheting some stars for earrings. I made a point of putting stuff that like I need in my day-to-day, like these are my go-to Femore scissors, in these bins, so I would have to unpack them quickly. And then I have multiple bins of the smaller things. Something that will make my life easier that I intend to do before LavenderCon is to put earrings on all the little backing, and these are the ones that I use for now because they can hook up onto the grid. This style of earring was the one that was the most popular, that people liked the most. But then like I like the really big earrings. That's like my style. This is my box of like unorganized business cards, business card holders, and all the different tag holders for necklaces in here. And then when people get earrings, I put them in this little bag. And I brought these. I only ended up giving like one bag to someone. I think we were in a good location where people who were doing a lot of shopping already had bags from visiting other vendors, and then other people just had totes or bags on them. A lot of people were buying small things like patches and earrings, so they just put them in their purse. I brought these Sharpies so I could make like colorful bubble letter price signs, and then I ended up using a ballpoint pen because they're so light they didn't pick up very nicely. Most of my transactions, like usual, were through my phone, but I did get a decent amount of cash sales too, so I'm just gonna leave this so it's ready to go for LavenderCon. This is another bin of earrings, and then ultimately I would like to transition to these bags because they can hold the longer earrings better, and then I have them stamped. I plan to put out more of my Halloween earrings too. I do think having a rotating display would be helpful for this. I'll be making some bookmarks, some plushies, and I think some dice bags. This being a queer-friendly book con, there's gonna be nerds. So I'm leaning into the gay and I'm leaning into the nerdy, and then doing some like book specific things like bookmark. I have a ton of keychains. I will probably bring my guillotine. I wish I had some more bookmark designs. These are upcycled from the Yarn Cosplay Guild holiday card. We'll take out these fans to charge. I do have a third fan, but it doesn't stand on its own, so I didn't pack it. But for this event, I will probably pack all three just so I have all three with me. I probably won't bring those purses to this event, just because they take up a lot of table space and I'm gonna focus on smaller things. Loved how this dyed lace came out. The tablecloths only turned out to be like a couple shades darker than they originally were, but even that was an upgrade for me. I wanted to make crab keychains because it's Maryland, and I feel like the Marylanders would appreciate that. I also I have a work in progress working on this like star belt that I want to make a video for, so I've kind of been pausing because I'm like, I know I need to get footage of how I assemble like the star and the blocking process. That's one of the biggest things that makes projects take longer now, when I know I want to do demos and video tutorials for them. I used to make a lot on the go, but now I'm like, I need to film it and get a good angle, and that's not always easy if I'm working on a project, say at the movie theater or on a train. So I have to like wait until I'm home, and I have separate projects for when I'm out on the go. I like this one a lot. I like how I was able to put it on my display and like get it off the table, because there's no table space when it's taken up by all of my patches. These had a bag that they got. I need more connectors, and I've seen on Etsy you can get like custom ones. I really like the idea of getting some bat ones, some black hearts, and some coffin ones would be cute. It would also be cute to get some like leopard print ones, because that's also kind of my vibe. Another product that I want to get into is more crocheted chokers, but the necklace stands that I see are like the really tall ones. I like the flatter ones, because for chokers they don't need to be super tall, and I only have one of that. I am gonna try to DIY some cardboard ones and maybe cover them in some fabric to make them cute. And then eventually I would also like to have a banner going at the top of my booth, and I'm gonna start looking for more fall events and maybe some holiday markets too. I've been really focusing recently on making content related to my art career and trying to actually have a profitable career out of this and support myself, especially as a disabled artist with medical bills, as well as spread the good word about crochet cosplay and teach people as much as I can about crochet cosplay. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please stick around.